video, we talked about permutations. Now, permutations, we can use a fundamental counting principle to choose how many different ways that we can arrange something, or that we can pick something, or that we can choose something, however many different words you want to use there, whatever. But what if you don't have, like, so I said the 12 books things, right? How many range can you waste? 12 books? Well, what if I only have 3 spots for them, right? Then how do you do it? Okay, and so that's where this notation comes in, this permutation notation. So this is a button on your calculator. Let me see if I can find it on here without having to push a special button to get there. Yeah, I'll look at it and see where it exactly is, but it's usually under the probability button. Sometimes it's there. Okay, so mine's underneath the times button. So the times button right there, it says NPR. So the R stands for the number of different options you have. So that would be like your 12 books. And your R stands for how many spots you have. So that would be 3 for this example that I just gave. So that R would be how many spots you have. Or we did the songs. So how many songs we have. So songs we have to choose from. And then how many spots we have to pick those songs. Right? Something like that. So NPR. And so this is for permutation where order matters. And we use this factorial notation in here as well. Okay. And so N is how many things we have to choose from, and R is how many spots we have. Okay. Okay. So if I'm doing, here's an example. 8, how many possibilities you have to choose from, how many things, how many choices you have total, right? And 3 is how many spots you have to fill. Okay, so there's 8 permutation 3. Okay. So, or a lot of times it might be like 8 choose 3. So I have 8 to choose from, and I'm choosing 3 of those. How many different ways can I rearrange them? Okay, so 8 factorial goes on top, and then I take 8 minus 3 first, and then I take the factorial. So that's why it's 8 factorial over 5, because 8 minus 3 is 5. And then 8 factorial means I go all the way down from 8 to 1, and 5 factorial means I go down from 5 to 1. Well, you notice that these two are the same. 5 down to 1 is the same as 5 down to 1, and because I'm dividing here, these can cancel out, so then really I just have 8 times 7 times 6, and that I can do on my calculator, and I get 336. But again, once you have it down here, you can do that on your calculator as well, so you don't necessarily have to write it all out and cancel these out, but it's kind of cool, I think, to play with and cancel stuff out, because then it feels like I'm a genius. Because, oh, look what I could do. So here's an example. I make myself laugh. Finding a permutation. Okay, so like I talked about, a president, vice president, treasurer. So we have 3 spots to fill. So that 3 spots to fill, spots to fill, that would equal our R. Okay. And then how many different ways can officers be chosen from a group of 10? Okay, so 10 members. Those are what we pick from. So that would be our N, right? Total number that I can choose from. And this is how many I'm choosing, 3 out of those 10, right? So you have to think about this question, because you have to look for, does order matter? Okay, is it a different arrangement if one is president and vice president and treasurer? So if I have the same 3 people, right? Okay, and then they just rearrange, and this person is president and this person is vice president. Does that matter, right? And it does, right? Because these roles are different. Because the roles are different, that means order matters. So you have to think through these problems to see if order matters or does order not matter. Okay. If it was all 3 the same position, like representative, right? If they're all representative, then they're all going to do the same. So then order wouldn't matter. Okay, but order matters, so that's a permutation. Okay, so then we can go ahead and set up our permutation notation. So P, and then our N is 10, and our R is 3. And then I can use my formula. The 10 N goes on top. Always the bigger number is going to go on top, okay? And then it's these two minus each other, so 10 minus 3. So that's 7. And then I'll take the factorial. So it's 10 factorial over 7 factorial. And I could actually do that on my calculator. right? I showed you where that button is. I can also show you where this button is, which I think I talked about already. But 10 factorial is 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 all the way down to 1, right? Well, 7 factorial on bottom, isn't that 7 down to 1? So these are going to cancel. So really, this problem is just 10 times 9 times 8, 10 times 9 times 8. Well, 9 times 8 is 72. 72 times 10, well, that's just 1 times 72 and add a 0. So there's 720 different ways you can do it. Okay, or you can do this. I showed you where that factorial button is on your calculator. Or you can actually use this permutation button, which I said is, you got to hit Shift, uh, Shift X, like as in X, the times button. And it looks like this. So what I have to do is I hit 10 first, my N first. So I hit 10, first turn your calculator on, hit 10, then I hit Shift times, and then I hit R, which is 7. And then we make sure it works, okay? Because mine didn't, so I got to make sure I hit it the correct way. So it really helps when you hit the right numbers in. So if you do 10, you hit that shift multiplication, brings up a P, and then you hit the correct number, which is 3. I was hitting 7 for some reason, and you'll get that same 720. Okay, so that's how you do it. You can either do it using that button like I just said, or you can simplify it and you can do that, or you can actually multiply it out. You can multiply it all the way out to 1 and divide that by that, or you can cancel these out and just multiply those 3. So you got 3 ways that you can do it. Okay, so you just got to read through these and think about what's the right scenario. I mean, the title of this is finding a permutation, so you know you're going to use that one. Later on, there'll be some examples where you have to choose a permutation or a combination, right? And one's right and one's wrong. Okay, how many ways can you and swimmers finish first, second, and third? Again, does order matter? Does it matter if you finish first, second, or third? Yeah, it does, right? So those are your 3 spots. So you have 3 spots, so that is your equals your R. And now how many racers do you have? And so you have 12, right? So go ahead and figure out what that is. And there you go. Next video, we'll talk about combinations.